Welcome to Speak from the Body, a podcast that seeks to explore the wealth of wisdom of the body. My name is Avni Trivedi, and I'm your host, as well as an osteopath, doula, and movement teacher. In this podcast, I speak to experts about all sorts of topics to do with the body, such as touch, trauma, body confidence, gratitude, birth, movement, relaxation, and baby development. My wish is that you learn how to connect with, listen to, and respect your body. Today's episode is for anyone who finds the winter weather hard to deal with. If you don't suffer from seasonal affective disorder, aka SAD, you might be wondering what all the fuss is about, or thinking that people are being snowflakes and should just toughen up. But if you know, you know. And I really know. The winter can be crippling to cope with. At this time of year, even small things take a lot of effort for me, and I feel like I'm working hard to keep going. By late spring, as the light returns, it's a totally different story. And come midsummer, I'm in my element. It's light early in the morning until late at night, and I feel free and bright. I'm one of those sensitive types who starts mourning the end of summer when the light changes as early as August. Even when there might be a heat wave, the daylight hours are noticeably shorter. There's that grief about knowing what's coming. And then once you're going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark, it can feel like Groundhog Day over and over again. This year is particularly relevant for SAD, because there isn't the luxury of escaping to sunnier climes. So I'm motivated to make my practices for getting through this time even more watertight. Really, it's a collection of things I found helpful for myself, and I thought I'd share them with you too. If you'd like to be less of a grumpy bear and find ways of making the winter a little more bearable, keep listening. All of my suggestions are easy, micro practices, which means they don't take much energy. Light. Look for the light as much as possible. Light is even more revered right now. Keep all the blinds open to capture all the light you can. On crisp sunny days, let the light bounce throughout your home by keeping the doors open. Get outside as much as possible, especially around maximal daylight. Using those light bulbs that mimic daylight are good for the eyes. Even on a sunny day, like the glorious one last Saturday, I tend to avoid sunglasses in the winter. I feel as if I need to soak up light at the back of my eyes. This can be quite helpful as a prompt in meditation. With the eyes closed, visualize light beaming at the back of the eyeballs. I've recently got one of those dawn simulator alarm clocks. It's already made a big difference. From 5:30 a.m, the light gradually increases, so that I can get out of bed at 6 a.m. without thinking it's the middle of the night. It's much less jarring for the nervous system to wake with gradual light rather than a loud sound. I used to have a SAB lamp and it worked well, but I wasn't sitting in front of it as much as I needed to get the benefits of it. I recommend them if you're at a desk a lot. In the evening, the soft glow of fairy lights and candles set the mood for coziness and calm. It can be really pleasant to catch the sunrise in winter, instead of sensing the sudden jolt of darkness. Movement. Some form of morning movement that gets a sweat going and raises my heart rate sets me up for the day. I used to go for early morning equipment Pilates sessions, but I'm so glad that I can follow online workouts without having to venture out too early. As much as I love peaceful practices like meditation, journaling, and yoga nidra, it's important to have enough contrast with energizing practices. It's less appealing to go out if you don't have to, but moving more often when working from home and getting some squats, hops, or arm circles in really help. You could also try skipping, dancing, or using a rebounder. Inversions boost the mood and relax the body. Gentle yoga poses such as legs up against the wall are nourishing, and a supported headstand is good for getting a rush of blood to the head. Supplements. Many people are deficient in vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin. It's easily absorbed in spray form under the tongue. One year, when I used to work 4 evenings a week and rarely got outside in the day, my vitamin D levels had plummeted, and I had my GP colleague give me a shot to raise the levels again. You can also get vitamin D from oily fish, such as salmon and sardines, eggs and red meat. Magnesium is also another thing to consider supplementing to help with mood, sleep, and body aches. Rest. It should go without saying, but the winter is the season for rest. Try to have the sleep you need and catch up on rest. I'm doing lots of yoga nidra, restorative yoga, and plain old naps, as well as getting to bed nice and early. At the moment, it gets suddenly dark at around 4, and I find myself wanting to head to bed. At the same time, screens can give that artificial sense of alertness, which can make it hard to settle to sleep. I found that doing a little stint of exercise in the late afternoon or early evening really beneficial, and then trying to get off my computer and keep my phone out of arm's reach. Nutrition. Warming soups and stews and broths are great at this time of year. Be moderate with servings of carbs to stave off feelings of sluggishness. Much as I love a jacket potato with cheesy beans, it's not a great go-to because of the resulting carb coma. I like spices that warm the body and fit with the theme of winter. It's not the time for cold salads or too much raw food. Colour therapy. Since the light is scarce, I pay more attention to surrounding myself with colour. Wearing colourful clothes and having colourful things in my eyeline really helps. In the same vein, I focus on the pleasures of scent and taste. For scents, things that smell both refreshing and warming, such as orange and ginger, grapefruit and pepper, and cinnamon are good options. Warm drinks such as star anise, cloves, ginger or fennel steeped in hot water are comforting to sip throughout the day. Nature. Nature is a healer for everything, I find. Getting out into open spaces or walking in the woods instantly helps, as does having houseplants to take care of and purify the air around you. I'm back to body brushing before my morning shower. I use a couple of drops of rosemary or peppermint or geranium and brush my skin vigorously before getting in. Cold water therapy. I'll link to a previous episode about water rituals in the show notes, but washing my face with cold water or turning the water to cold at the end of the shower are really helpful. At the moment, I'm psyching myself up to get back into the ladies' ponds now that the second lockdown in the UK has passed and the facilities have reopened. Instead of setting the bar too high, all I'll be asking of myself is to get into the water, with no expectations on how long I'll stay. With all habits like running or writing, having a low bar for minimal effort helps to build the consistency of a practice. I don't believe in tough love. Gentle encouragement goes a long way. And as refreshing as a blast of cold can be, I'm a big fan of the deep heat from an infrared sauna. Thankfully, there's one at one of the clinics I work at, and even 5 minutes in there can help to open my body up from its contracted state. Making sure that my body feels comfortable. The right type of layers, so I don't have that cold in the bones feeling, but don't get overheated either. A couple of thin layers and then something knitted. Keeping the feet, head, lower back and wrists particularly warm without having to be in a portable duvet. And at the end of the day, it's nice to give myself a massage with a warm oil. Or read in a warm bath. The little things that feel good do wonders for getting through these wintry days. It's also worth trying to avoid the behaviours that aren't so supportive. I don't drink coffee or alcohol, but sugar is my vice whenever I'm under par, and it really doesn't help with SAD as it makes me more irritable and tired. Keeping a certain amount of structure with waking and going to bed and other habits can help, especially in the long dark times when there isn't much distinction between dark and light. Knowing when and how to connect with others. Social contact can be tiring, especially talking on the phone. Some of the things I found most supportive lately have been social connection whilst being able to do my own thing. I've enjoyed London Writers' Salon, where people gather on Zoom to work on their own writing projects, whether journaling or writing a book. It's nice to feel as if you have company without anything too full on. Come evening, I'm a gremlin, so I tend not to book in commitments if I can help it. Making the most of my energy helps by doing things earlier in the day and having more space in the afternoons. And try to be aware of boundaries, so saying no to things that can feel difficult but it frees you up. I've started to embrace the things that the winter brings rather than hold my breath until the spring. The silence, the coziness, the rawness, the simplicity, especially if you don't have to rush from A to B. It's also the season of simple joys, so do whatever lifts your spirits without apology. You don't have to give in to the rush of the sales and holiday preparations. Do whatever makes you happy. Just being able to say that I'm suffering somehow helps rather than pretending and trying. So if that's something you quietly get on with, see how it feels to let others know that you find winter hard. Remember that sad is common but treatable. So if you need more assistance, do see a therapist or body worker for talking therapy or prescribed supplements and medication. If you have any tips that work for you with SAD, I'd love to hear them. You can tag me at Avni Touch on Instagram or Twitter. And from the 15th of December, I'll be running 4 weeks of the intuitive way to wellness, supporting you to listen to the deep wisdom of your body so that you can feel better. I'm a fan of gentle and simple ways of connecting with yourself through touch, mindful movement, breath work, and rest. If you want to improve your well-being and do it with kindness and care, I'd love for you to join me. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please send me a comment on Twitter or Instagram at Avni Touch. Subscribe to Speak From the Body on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go to avni-touch.com/podcast to get the show notes. And finally, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.